But the people of Iowa and New Hampshire and South Carolina have spoken, and I really respect their decision. So tonight, I am suspending my campaign. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Cheers there for Jeb Bush, who's choking back tears last night after a disappointing fourth-place finish in South Carolina. Once considered the front-runner for the GOP nomination, it's now over. He has now stepped off the stage. CNN's Athena Jones joins us now with more from Columbia, South Carolina.
Good morning, Victor. It was an emotional moment. You could hear, I don't know if you could hear it just now, those gasps in the crowd. People were very surprised to hear Governor Bush make that announcement, but his campaign wanted him to do much better. In fact, they were hoping that he could beat his former protege, Marco Rubio. In the end, Rubio bested him by more than a dozen points. Take a listen to what else he told that crowd gathered in the hotel ballroom last night.
In this campaign, I have stood my ground, refusing to bend to the political winds. We put forward detailed, innovative, conservative plans to address the mounting challenges that we face. Because despite what you might have heard, ideas matter, policy matters. I firmly believe the American people must entrust this office to someone who understands that whoever holds it is a servant, not the master. Someone who will commit to that service with honor and decency.
Now, both of those comments were not so veiled references to Donald Trump. We've heard Governor Bush say over and over on the campaign trail that Donald Trump does not see himself as a man of service. He's not thinking of this as a career of service. In the end, as you mentioned, Governor Bush, about this time last year, was the presumptive front runner, but no one predicted the entry in the race and the impact on the race that Donald Trump would have. And so he is bowing out, heading home after having fought a tough campaign. Victor?
All right, Athena Jones for us in Columbia this morning. Thank you so much. Let's turn now to Senator Ted Cruz, who was once boasted that he was the ultra-conservative, ultra-religious southern states that vote on March 1st or his firewall. But the question now, what's next for the Texas senator after his loss to Donald Trump in South Carolina, a state that seemed to have been tailor-made for the Cruz campaign? Could this be a signal that more defeats are down the road for the senator on Super Tuesday? Joining me now to discuss, Rick Tyler, the national spokesperson for the Cruz campaign. Rick, good to have you back on New Day.
Good morning.
So I want to start by going inside the numbers here. Ted Cruz says that he is the Christian conservative in the race who wants to break up the Washington cartel. But when we look at the numbers, and let's put these numbers up on the screen for our viewers, 72% of those who responded to our exit polls describe themselves as evangelical or born-again Christians. Trump won them over Cruz 33-27. 76% say that it mattered that the candidate shared their religious belief. Trump won with them as well, 31-27. He lost with those who are angry with the federal government, those who are dissatisfied with the federal government. I mean, this is not just a defeat, but is this not a defeat that jeopardizes Cruz's strongest rationale for being in this race?
Oh, no, not at all. Look, we're very comfortable with where we are. We won Iowa decisively, despite everything coming after us, including the establishment, including ethanol, including the sitting governor. In South Carolina, we had the sitting governor against us. We had the sitting senator against us and a very popular congressman. So the establishment rallied and they got behind Marco Rubio, and we virtually tied him. Now the question is going to be who can actually defeat Donald Trump? And the only candidate now who's beaten Donald Trump is Ted Cruz. So as we go forward, the dynamic will be changing. And March 1 states, especially the southern states, are a little different than South Carolina. South Carolina has a very liberal coast. That's where Marco Rubio did very well. They have a very liberal capital city. That's where Marco Rubio did very well. But as we go forward, a lot of these states, including Texas, the senator's home state, and Oklahoma and Arkansas, they are different from South Carolina. We have spent a lot of time in those states. We have the resources, and we have the organization. We've got a candidate, and we've got the message. So we're left with the deal maker, and somebody that's Donald Trump. He wants to be the deal maker. And then we have someone who already makes deals, and that's what people are tired of in Washington. Ted Cruz is not a deal maker.
Well, Rick, let me ask you about your characterization that Marco Rubio, it's correct. He had Nikki Haley, he had Tim Scott, he had Trey Gowdy. But that's how the Cruz campaign is structured, is it not? That he is going in to break up the establishment. So if he is the outsider, you'd expect that he would face that in every state. Isn't that supposed to be baked into the bread here of your campaign? Shouldn't you have expected that those other candidates would get that endorsement and Ted Cruz would not?
Well, he is the proven outsider, and Marco Rubio is the proven insider. The question mark is Donald Trump. He is neither proven to be an insider or an outsider in Washington. What we do know is that he's been the paymaster for the establishment, and not even the Republican establishment. He's been the paymaster for the Democratic establishment. So, look, we're going to carry our message forward. We're well positioned. We feel good about the March 1 states, because March 1 states, there's a lot of states, I think 11 going at the same time, and we're prepared to compete in all those states because we've got the resources, the money, and the message to do it. And we believe that Marco Rubio does not have the money or the message. His candidacy, remember what he's talking about in South Carolina? You know, he didn't really have a message. All he could do is whine about other campaigns. And so we believe we're well positioned to do well in March 1.
Let me ask you about Dr. Ben Carson, who said last night he's not going anywhere, coming in last place here. The expectation would be that some of those Carson votes would go to Ted Cruz. At least that was your pitch in Iowa. How does that complicate things moving forward for you if Dr. Carson continues to take 6, 7, 8% moving through the next few states?
Well, he did take 7%, and despite that, we still virtually tied for second. So Dr. Carson will have to make up his mind about his own campaign, whether he wants to go on and take votes from the conservative, or whether he would like to get out of the race. But that's up to him. We will work very hard to win over not only his supporters, but the supporters of every other campaign. So that's what this is all about. The dynamic is going to change. And again, we've got the resources, the money, and we're prepared to compete, and we'll compete hard.
You know, something stood out to me last night from Senator Cruz's speech. He gave this lofty, victorious speech after coming in third place, and I thought back to Marco Rubio's speech after coming in third place in Iowa, and I want you to listen to what Senator Cruz said after Rubio's speech in Iowa.
I mean, I was laughing watching some of the media coverage, some of the interviews afterwards where everyone was saying, what do you think about the amazing third-place finish of Marco? And I just kind of laughed and said, gosh, you know, is the media giving a tell there?
Yeah.
When the first thing you want to talk about is the amazing third-place finish? You know, we've been joking that in media world, bronze is the new gold.
There seems to be a goose and gander cliche here. Did Ted Cruz not give last night the best third-place speech since Marco Rubio? Seems to be a similarity there.
I think he did a very good speech. He was rallying and thankful for his supporters in South Carolina. But remember, Marco Rubio does not have he has not won a state. We won Iowa. We came in third in a blue state where Marco should have done well. He came in fifth. And we virtually tied in South Carolina, where you do have a liberal contingent that helped, and we had other people in the race. So we're in good shape. No one would have predicted that we'd be in this position, even months and weeks ago, that we would have won Iowa, we would have done so well in a blue state, and that we would have come in the top three, and we almost virtually tied last night for these first three states. So look, we're excited, and we're ready to go forward.
All right, Rick Tyler, I know you had a long night. We appreciate you waking up early to be with us on New Day.
You too. All right. Good.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Now, this Thursday, it's the last debate before Super Tuesday. This now narrowed field will be on stage together with Wolf Blitzer live from Texas for the CNN Republican presidential debate. That's Thursday at 8:30 p.m. right here on CNN.
All right, when we come back to New Day, Trump and Hillary are the big winners this weekend. So where does that leave their rivals? Rubio and Cruz in a virtual tie, and Sanders putting all of his focus on